Looking at Praxis exercise 5.20 digitRange, we're asked to write a method named digitRange. So I'm going to start this out with a public, and then we're going to have some return type here. We'll just call it void for now, and it's called digitRange, and it accepts an integer as a parameter. So we're going to have integer, and it returns the range of values of its digits. So the range is defined as one more than the difference between the largest and smallest digits. So for example, if we are given this right here, it's going to return a 6 because the largest digit is 8 and the smallest digit is 3. These two right here. So if we subtract them, 8 minus 3, and then we just add 1, it's going to give us 6. So if the number contains only one digit, we're just going to return 1. And we'll come up with this in a second. We'll figure this how to do this out. This is kind of a side product of what we're going to do. So we're not going to solve this problem using a string. Previous problem that I've done, I used a string to solve something, not this first digit, but one of the other digit ones. And the first digit I solved just using a while loop. This one we're also going to use a while loop in here. So we're not going to want to have any like negatives in here. We're going to solve this by setting our integer, so this value, we're reassigning it to be math.absolute value, and we're passing in our integer. This way it will get rid of any negatives. So let's talk about our first assigns to high and low. So these are going to be our high and low values. We'll do int high, and we're going to set this equal to the first number, and then we're going to compare it to all the other numbers. So integer, and well, how do we get just the first number right here? And when I say first number, I don't mean this first number. We can do that with strings, but an easy way to do this with integers is take the modulus. So if we divide this by 10, we're going to get this value right here. So we're going to take the modulus of this. Modulus is somewhere on this keyboard that doesn't have the keycaps listed. We have integer modulus 10. So this is going to give us this value right here and store it in high. Well, let's do the same thing. Right now we're going to do the same exact thing for low, so it's going to be the same value. And the reason we're going to want to do the same exact thing is because if the number contains only one digit, return 1. Well, at the end of this, we're going to want to return the high minus the low, and then plus 1. So if they're the same thing, they're just going to be 0, and then we can add 1, so we return 1. So this kind of solves it here. Now, our return is going to be an integer, so it's going to be a public int, and then we have our digit range here. So we have to go through all of these to actually examine what's happening. Well, we've already gotten this first part down. Now, we want to move to the next number. So let's do this. Moving to the next number, and how are we going to do this? Well, if we take a calculator, and we divide this by 10, we are going to get 6843.7. And since it's an integer, it's going to round it down, just to be 6843. So moving to the next, we're going to do integer, and then we're going to do a divide equals by 10. So we're going to divide equals 10 here. And as long as there's something still left in here, we're going to want to be in a while loop. So this is what this next while loop is for. It's going to be as long as our integer is greater than 0, which means as long as there's something here. So while our integer is greater than 0, we're going to want to be inside here. Now, what we want to do is we want to compare the high and the low values to the current values that we're looking at. And this current value is going to be the next value, right? Because we're moving to the next one. So if we look at this as an example, we're going to be looking at this 3. And we only want this 3, not the entire number. So how do we get this 3? Well, we have to get a new value. So we're going to have the getting the integer minus the last value. And what this means is that we want our int current, so this is our current value that we're looking at, and we can set it equal to our integer, which remember we've updated right here. And we're going to have the integer modulus 10. Wherever that modulus is. And this is just going to get us, for this example, 3 right here, and it's going to store it in current. Now we have to compare them. Well, we have a new high value, right? So we're just reassigning this here. Otherwise, well, what if it's less than this? If it's in the middle, we don't care, right? So we're not going to have a case for this. Only if our current is less than our low, are we also going to change something. We're going to set our low equal to the new current. And so that's how we would do our assigning here. Now, we have this integer right here, divided equals 10, and the reason why we do this is because we want to move to the left. Well, once we're done doing this comparing, we're going to want to move to the next one again, right? So let's just do this again, except down here. So we have our integer divided by equals to 10. And possibly an easier way to do this is just, we'll check this out in a second, but we could take this and maybe take this and just put it at the beginning of our while loop. So where this is moving to the next value. If we have 6843, we divide it by 10, we're going to have 684.3, but we're not going to have the 3, we round down because it's an integer, and we have 684. And then we're just continue this while loop until we eventually break out of it, hit this return statement, and then we finish off our method. It says we have an error right here. This should be an else if, because this is a condition right here, not just an else. If it's an else, there's no condition. And then we have a problem here. We can't find the value integer because I spelt it wrong. So we can modify that as integer. Let's try to submit that again. Cannot find the symbol, and seems I spelled height wrong. So we'll have high here, and we'll change this to high, and we'll change this should be high. Let's try submitting it again. We can't find integer, I spelled that wrong. So correcting all of those spelling mistakes, we've passed 11 out of 11 tests. Now, let's see if we could do this moving to the next part in just one part up here. So we'll move that up there and we'll take that out here. And we've only passed 11 out of 11 tests, and it seems that's because what ends up happening is that we're really re-examining this twice. Because remember, the reason why we do this right here is because we did this first part already. So we're going to be looking at the same thing twice. We don't want to have that up here. So we're going to place that back here. We can submit it again. And we've passed 11 out of 11 tests. So that's how we look at practice exercise 5.20, which is our digit range.